This courtroom video is a perfect example of what happens when sovereign-citizen arguments collide head-on with real law. The defendant walks into court convinced that religious beliefs and indigenous land claims place him above Michigan state law. But from the very start, the judge makes one thing crystal clear: this court does not operate on personal interpretations, beliefs, or internet legal theories. The charge is serious. Fleeing and eluding in the third degree, a felony that carries the possibility of years behind bars, heavy fines, and the loss of driving privileges. Instead of addressing the charge directly, the defendant repeatedly refuses to acknowledge the court's authority, insisting that his religion exempts him from statutory rules. As the hearing continues, the arguments only grow more bizarre. The defendant cites international declarations and indigenous land rights, attempting to challenge the jurisdiction of the court itself. The judge responds with calm but firm authority, explaining again and again that Michigan law, and only Michigan law, governs these proceedings. When it becomes clear that the defendant either cannot or will not understand the court's role, the judge takes decisive action, ordering a forensic competency evaluation. Even then, the defendant resists, claiming cooperation only under threat, duress, and coercion. By the end of the hearing, one message is undeniable: courtroom theatrics and sovereign citizen talking points don't stand a chance against a judge who refuses to let chaos replace the rule of law. This is accountability in action, and a reminder that no one is above the system.
I am Tariq Samar Tariq the executor of the Tariq Samar Tariq Living Trust and the registered owner of the Tariq Samar Tariq Ex Relatione Kindaman Wilson Estate.
Right. So you are appearing here without an attorney. I do have to advise you that you are charged with the offense of fleeing and eluding in the third degree under the Motor Vehicle Code. That is a felony punishable by up to 5 years incarceration and/or a $1,000 fine plus court costs. Additionally, the Secretary of State could suspend your driving privileges for up to a year. Do you understand that, sir?
I comprehend.
Do you understand?
I comprehend, yes.
The court has to further advise you that if you wish to be represented by counsel, the court would ensure that counsel would be appointed to represent you in this matter, and that you would have counsel if you could not afford to hire counsel yourself. I also wish to advise you that the court would be treating you the same as it would the people in this case. There are certain dangers to representing yourself in this matter, in that you will be required to abide by the Michigan court rules, the Michigan rules of evidence, and all of the cases and statutory requirements. You understand that?
I do not.
You do not. What is it about that you do not understand?
It's against my religion to adhere or to assimilate to any statutory.
Sir, I'm not asking anything about your religion. It is irrelevant to me. I am indicating that in this proceeding, you will be required to abide by the rules of this court. Do you understand that?
I'm having a hard time understanding why or how religion doesn't play a role.
How what?
How religion does not play a role.
Religion does not play a role in what I do or what this court does. There are certain rules of this court established by the legislature and the Michigan Supreme Court regarding how these particular proceedings will be conducted. These proceedings will be conducted in accord with those rules. Do you understand that, sir?
Well, according to the American Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, as well as the international or the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, the state and the governments should.
Sir, you have no authority for what you're about to state, because what you're about to state.
Oh, I am an indigenous person.
No,
Do you have?
Sir, what you're about to state is incorrect.
Well,
If you were on indigenous lands, if that's where you're going, then maybe you might be right. As it stands right now, this proceeding is not on indigenous land.
well, that's a matter of perspective, sir.
It is, and the only perspective that's going to matter on that is mine. We are not on indigenous lands, subject to indigenous or tribal rules.
Is
You
there a
are
law?
subject to the rules of the Michigan Supreme Court as they are promulgated, both in terms of procedure and evidence. Do you understand that that's what's happening, sir?
I do not.
What is it that you do not understand?
I don't understand.
Because I'm going to tell you something, sir. If you are unable to establish or understand what I'm saying, and go through this with you again, I have to assume that there may be some reason why you don't understand. This court will take precautions to protect your rights, and I will be sending you for a competency evaluation to make sure that you are competent to stand trial and to stand in these proceedings.
Well, I would agree to a competency if the prosecution as well as the court and the officers agree to take a competency.
That's not the way it works. You don't get to make the rules.
I'm not.
I'm ordering a competency.
I'm not making.
Defendant is ordered for a forensic evaluation. I will set a competency hearing in this matter for July 25th, 2024. At what time? At 9 a.m. Now, sir, I'm going to ask you this.
Yes, sir.
Because it's going to depend on where you may be staying for a period of time. If they send you information as to when you have your forensic interview,
Yes, sir.
are you going to cooperate and attend that interview?
Under threat, duress, and coercion, yes.
Pardon?
Under threat, duress, and coercion, yes.
No. Pardon?
I mean, under it, yeah. I mean, is this what are, excuse me, what are you relaying to in regard? What are you insinuating in regards to where I will stay for a time?
I'm going to make sure that we are going to have our forensic interview done. I've ordered a forensic interview. I am asking you whether or not, when given notice of that interview, whether or not you are going to voluntarily cooperate in that interview.
I will take the interview.
Excuse me?
I will take the interview.
Anything from the people?
Would the court ask the people to prepare the order for the competency?
Yes, please prepare the order for this. Is that your address, sir?
Excuse me? That's correct.
All right. All right, very good.
And so I will send a copy to that address.
Very good. All right. This time then bond is continued.
Yes, sir. And I'm sorry, can I get that date again, please, sir? If I can put it in my calendar.
July 25th, you were supposed to, so I'm assuming you're waiving it. You were supposed to file your motion with.
I did.
the court.
I filed it.
When did you file it?
I brought it in today.
Do we have it?
I gave it, I mean, it was stamped and everything. I gave it to the reception.
Why didn't you file it before today?
Well, as I stated at the last hearing,
No, don't go through what you
additional week.
stated at the last hearing.
Well, you
You
asked.
knew that, no, you knew it was supposed to be filed before the day. And man, you're gonna
That's it.
figure out something. We're playing by my rules, not yours. So you do not say anything because you're gonna figure that out real soon. Do they have it?
I have not received a response yet.
Since I'm sending in for a competency, I can't hear that. I can't hear his motion in any event. So I won't hear his motion at this time. He'll have to refile it timely if he's determined to be competent. So I'll have his bond continue. He can go. What?
I didn't get the last part that you said. The bond continued and what?
I said you can go.
Oh, okay, no problem.
This courtroom video opens with a tension you can almost feel through the screen. From the very beginning, it's clear this is not going to be a routine hearing. The defendant enters the courtroom armed not with legal counsel or factual arguments, but with a collection of beliefs, declarations, and claims that immediately put him on a collision course with the judge. What follows is a textbook example of how sovereign citizen ideology clashes with real-world law, and how a firm judge keeps control when things start to spiral. The judge begins by addressing the reason everyone is there, a felony charge of fleeing and eluding in the third degree. This is not a minor traffic ticket or a misunderstanding over paperwork. It's a serious charge that carries the possibility of several years in prison, significant fines, and the suspension of driving privileges. The judge carefully explains the charge and the potential penalties, making sure the defendant understands what is at stake. But instead of responding directly, the defendant immediately shifts the conversation away from the charge itself. Rather than acknowledging the authority of the court, the defendant begins questioning the foundation of the proceedings. He speaks about religion, personal beliefs, and rights that he claims exempt him from statutory law. The judge listens, but it's obvious he has heard these arguments before. With calm precision, the judge explains that personal beliefs, religious or otherwise, do not override the laws of the state of Michigan. The courtroom operates under established rules, not individual interpretations of sovereignty. As the hearing continues, the judge offers the defendant his constitutional right to an attorney. If the defendant cannot afford one, the court is prepared to appoint counsel. This is a critical moment, because it shows the court is not trying to railroad the defendant or deny him due process. The opportunity is clear, fair, and straightforward. Yet the defendant hesitates, avoids giving a direct answer, and continues speaking in abstract terms that never quite address the question being asked. The conversation begins to loop. The judge asks simple, direct questions. The defendant responds with philosophical statements, religious objections, and claims that the court itself lacks jurisdiction. At one point, the defendant asserts that his religion prevents him from complying with statutory requirements. The judge responds firmly, explaining that religious beliefs do not excuse criminal conduct or exempt someone from court procedures. This is not a theological debate. It's a criminal proceeding. Things escalate further when the defendant introduces indigenous land claims into the argument. He references international documents, including declarations related to indigenous peoples, suggesting that the court has no authority because the land itself is not properly recognized. The judge shuts this down with clarity. This courtroom is not operating under international law or United Nations declarations. It is operating under Michigan Supreme Court rules, on land governed by the state of Michigan. The judge makes it clear that repeating the same argument in different words does not make it legally valid. Despite repeated explanations, the defendant continues to insist that he does not understand the court's authority. This becomes a critical turning point. The judge pauses and considers what is happening. Is the defendant simply being defiant, or is there a genuine inability to understand the nature of the proceedings? This distinction matters, because the court cannot move forward if a defendant is not competent to participate in his own defense. At this moment, the judge makes a decisive move. Based on the defendant's repeated claims of confusion and refusal to acknowledge basic legal concepts, the judge orders a forensic competency evaluation. This is not a punishment. It's a procedural safeguard designed to ensure that the defendant is mentally capable of understanding the charges, the court's role, and the consequences of the case. Even then, resistance continues. The defendant is asked whether he will cooperate with the competency evaluation. Instead of a simple yes or no, he responds by saying he will comply only under threat, duress, and coercion. The judge remains composed, clarifying that the evaluation is court-ordered and necessary. Cooperation is not optional, and framing compliance as coercion does not change the legal reality. The hearing becomes a lesson in judicial patience. The judge does not raise his voice. He does not insult the defendant. He simply repeats the facts, the law, and the process, over and over, until the record is clear. The defendant's strategy appears to rely on overwhelming the court with language, hoping that confusion will somehow derail the proceedings. Instead, it only reinforces the judge's decision. As if to underscore the pattern, the defendant attempts to file a motion on the very day of the hearing. The judge explains that the motion is untimely and cannot be heard, especially given that a competency evaluation has already been ordered. Court rules exist for a reason, and filing documents at the last second does not obligate the court to stop everything and entertain them. Throughout the exchange, one theme becomes impossible to ignore. The court is grounded in structure, rules, and law, while the defendant operates in a world of personal belief and self-declared authority. These two worlds do not intersect in a courtroom. The judge makes it clear that the law applies equally to everyone, regardless of how strongly they reject it. By the end of the hearing, the atmosphere has shifted. What began as an attempt to challenge jurisdiction and authority has resulted in the court asserting even more control over the process. The competency evaluation stands. The untimely motion is rejected. The record is clear. The judge has done exactly what the legal system expects, maintained order, protected due process, and refused to let ideology replace law. This video serves as a powerful reminder that sovereign citizen arguments, no matter how passionately delivered, do not hold up in real courtrooms. Judges are not obligated to debate philosophy, religion, or international theories. Their role is to apply the law as written, ensure fairness, and keep proceedings grounded in reality. In the end, this hearing is not just about one defendant. It's about the stability of the legal system itself. When a judge stands firm, explains the law clearly, and refuses to be dragged into endless circular arguments, the courtroom remains a place of accountability. And in this case, that firmness completely reshapes the outcome of the hearing.